Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today is going to be episode 1 of our full franchise mode simulation, where we assume the role of general manager for the 33rd NHL franchise. Now, what that means is the head coach is going to be able to set all his lines. I cannot manipulate that at all. I only get to control things that a president or a general manager would control. So I guess technically, in a way, we can influence it slightly based on call-up, send-downs, roster construction, that type of thing. But in terms of the game in, game out lineup, that is strictly head coach. Who comes in for injury replacement, also up to the coach. So scouting and coaching are going to be paramount in terms of long-term success here. If you are new to the channel, hopefully you enjoy the content enough to come back and subscribe. Right now, 66% of you watching are not subscribed. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and I hope I earn your subscription today with this video. But enough of that, let's get right into it. So as per our team branding, we've gone with the Vålerenga Dragons. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I was looking for something as close to Valeria as I could, just to match the whole Game of Thrones motif. We'll show you guys each of the jerseys. We've got the homes, followed by the away jerseys. And then for the alternates, we went with the blackout jersey. We gave it that knight theme. He's holding the Valyrian steel sword. If you couldn't tell, I'm a Game of Thrones fan. And where else would we be playing except King's Landing? We've got shrewd GM Tyrion Lannister taking the reins here. I think it only makes sense to put ourselves in the same division as the most recent 2 expansion teams. So we are going to be playing out of the Pacific. Owner mode, morale, and fog of war are staying off here. Obviously, the head coach edit lines is staying on. We're not going to have any control over the rosters day to day. Seattle, however, is not getting an exemption. Their free ride is over. Real quick, I'll show you guys the settings I'm going to be using for the franchise. Obviously, the game settings won't matter as much until we jump in and watch a couple CPU games, but we've got 8-minute periods on superstar difficulty. Salary cap stays on. Trade difficulty stays on medium. Head coach edit lines is staying on. We're going to keep sim engine scoring on medium. It seems to yield the best results, especially when paired with high shot frequency. That way the goalie stats just aren't as outrageous. We are, however, turning draft class quality and prospect quality to low, which will put much more of an emphasis on scouting and make draft capital that much more valuable. And real quick, we'll scroll through the gameplay sliders that we are going to use as well. Again, won't really have as much of effect on this simulation, but when we do jump in to watch crucial moments of games, that's where you'll start to notice some of these things. And first things first, we're going to look at the draft lottery results here. Obviously, the thing that jumps out, San Jose is getting the first and second overall pick. How is that fair? We dropped from 3rd to 4th, which is also just ridiculous. Because draft class quality is set to low, we might not be keeping this pick. We'll have to see. Usually it's only the top 3 that are actually worth taking. And now it is time to start the expansion draft. I think the strategy is going to be very simple. Take the players that have the highest trade value. That way we can flip and really start to put our stamp on this team. We're also going to have to keep in mind the salary cap here, because it's very easy to lose track of it in these expansion drafts, especially when so many good players are being made available. But from Anaheim, we will go ahead and select Dostal. Boston making Brad Marchand available. He will need a contract, but I don't see how we don't take him. Could argue that Brandon Carlo is a smarter choice, but I'm not sure here. I have a feeling there's going to be a ton of defensemen made available, so we will take Marchand. I've seen him simulate some crazy results, and worst case, we have our captain for the first season. From Buffalo, we are going to take Samuelson. However, that cap hit is probably going to be one that we have to move right away. Calgary is going to give us Peltier. There's a couple better overall options to take, but given his top 9 high potential, I think he's the safe choice here. Carolina's got a ton of high-priced options available. We do also have to keep in mind that we have to build a competent AHL team in order for some of these younger guys to develop and grow in the first couple seasons. So I am going to take Noel Gunler here. Chicago is really not making this easy. They're not giving us anyone of any sort of value to take. Martinez does need a contract. However, I can't imagine him asking for $4 million. We'll take him. Again, worst case, we just let some of these guys walk. Now, Colorado is an interesting one because Georgiev always seems to simulate very well. However, we could take Olesen here. He's cheap, he's young, he's got top 6 potential, already at a 75 overall. A two-way forward with decent stats. That shot power, at least, is very good. If he gets that accuracy and offensive awareness up, he could be a weapon. Hard not to take him here. Keeping things simple with Columbus here, we're going to take Provorov, best player available. Dallas has made Matt Duchene available. Again, hard not to take him. He'll be a good fit on the first line with Marchand. From Detroit, Detroit, we could keep the trend going and take an aging superstar in Patrick Kane. Could go Joe Veleno or Rasmussen, but I think we're going to take the cheaper option in Jonathan Berggren here. There's no question we're stealing Matthias Ekholm from Edmonton. Now, Florida has made Spencer Knight available, 78 overall, elite low potential. He does remain a restricted free agent upon expiration of this current contract. However, at 4.5, just to qualify him is going to be crazy, and he's not really worth the risk if he doesn't pan out, especially when you see they've also made Carter Verhaeghe and Aaron Ekblad available. I'm a simple man. If I see an elite right-handed shot defenseman made available, I'm taking him. So this is where we get into guys building for the future. Alex Turcotte's got low elite potential at 78 overall, 23 years old, but he does not carry a cap hit like Spencer Knight. So he's a safe bet to stick in the AHL, especially on that entry-level deal. For Minnesota, we are going to bolster the goaltending here and take Philip Gustafsson. Might grow a little bit before the season starts, 85, 86, but at 3.7, he's not going to break the bank to have as our starter year one. And again, building for the future for Montreal, we are going to take Joshua Waugh here. Berggren, Waugh, and Turcotte, a great first line in the AHL. We could desperately use a center, so maybe we take Philip Tomasino here. Could take the fake Matt Murray, the imposter. I'm just kidding. We would never do that. Let's take Tomasino. Now, oddly enough, New Jersey has made Dawson Mercer available. I'm not taking much time on this one either. Welcome aboard. Now, as far as a good, cheap backup goalie, Varlamov has been made available. There's not much else there. There's Brock Nelson we could take. Now, New York's got a ton of options available, but you can't pass up on an 86 overall Keandre Miller. Top 4, high potential. There's just no way. From Ottawa, we're going to take the 6'7" goaltender in Mads Solgaard. And at 23 years old, he could grow with that AHL core and eventually become our NHL backup. Jamie Drysdale's just too tempting not to take from Philadelphia here. They've got Noah Cates, top 9 high, 25 years old. I just actually saw that Bobby Brink was made available too. I don't think I can pass up on him. We're going to take Bobby Brink. I might regret not taking Drysdale there. We'll see. Another good AHL goalie from Pittsburgh. We're going to take Joel Blomqvist here. San Jose is going to give us the guy who is probably our first line center, unfortunately, the way things currently stand. We're going to take Mikael Granlund. Now, obviously, we have made it so Seattle is not exempt from this expansion draft. They will be forfeiting a player. Good third pairing guy. We're going to take Will Borgen here. And because injuries are staying on, we're going to need some insurance in net. We might as well take Joel Hoffer here. Again, we can always flip guys if need be for the roster space. We're taking JJ Moser from Tampa here. Good young top 4 defenseman at a decent cap hit. Unfortunately, the Leafs aren't giving us much to go off of here as well. We might just have to take Liljegren, although he'll probably be a guy that we flip right away, especially at $3 million. You couldn't pay me to take Alex Kerfoot, so we are going to take Nick Bjugstad. We do have a severe lack of centermen on this team as it stands. Bjugstad should at least help that a little bit. Vancouver has made Brock Besser available for some weird reason, so we will gladly take that. And the same thing can be said for Vegas leaving Shea Theodore unprotected. Who knows why, but again, their loss is our gain. For some cheap depth scoring, we're going to take Sonny Milano from Washington here. We are getting dangerously close to the cap, especially when you see that Winnipeg has made Nikolai Ehlers available. All right, let's go back and change some of these and dump some cap space. So from Seattle, we're going to drop Will Borgen and change that to Josh Mahura. He won't play for us. We're probably just going to release him, to be honest with you, but that's 2.7 that we don't need to spend. Varlamov's the other very obvious one to drop there. We've switched that to Holmstrom. Again, some more cap savings. From Dallas, we're going to switch Matt Duchesne's $3 million to Nils Lundqvist. At least he remains an RFA. He's still young enough. He should come relatively cheap. And finally, from Buffalo, we're going to downgrade Samuelson's 4.2 cap hit to Henry Yokiharu. He's making 3.1, but he's on an expiring contract. Is still an RFA, which is always good. We can qualify him if need be. But that should allow us to take Ehlers here now. And with that, we finish the expansion draft. If you guys want to take a look at the players we selected, there it is on screen. Now the fun begins. So in taking a look at the prospects for the entry draft this season, San Jose is obviously getting 1 and 2, but in the top 4, we should at least be guaranteed an elite potential player, so we will be keeping that pick. Our scouts are recommending Finnish prospect Jani Laurikainen. It looks like he may be a sniper. No weaknesses, no comparable, but NHL ready. Let's find out for sure with an interview. So what we've actually learned from the interview is that he's a two-way forward, not a sniper. That does change things. He is NHL ready, and his weakness is his physical category. Now, just a phenomenal name, projected to go 5th overall here, Orlando Shingtime. Let's take a look at what he's got to offer. So Orlando is a playmaker who is also NHL ready. Finally, we'll take a look at Marcus with 2 S's, Bobrovsky. He is a sniper. He's projected to go 3rd, so maybe we make a move for him. So there is finally a sniper. Obviously, the strength's going to be shooting. Don't know why I asked that. And he is NHL ready as well. Maybe we try and make a move for that 3rd overall pick. Let's see how the first 2 picks play out first, I guess. So San Jose, no surprises, took the guys that were ranked 1st and 2nd. I think we're going to try and make a move for Chicago's pick here, just to move up 1. We'll see what it costs at least first. We're going to try and send them 4th, 36th, and 69th. I don't think this is going to go go through. It doesn't. We're going to add Timothy Liljegren to try and get this trade done. So that's all it took to get that one done. We can now zero in on the guy that we want. Minnesota coming in with one of the worst trade offers I've ever seen in my life. Spurgeon, Middleton, and a 4th for the 3rd overall pick. You must be smoking crack. The more I look at it, the harder it's becoming not to take Lorakainen, even though we just gave up all those picks. They've at least discovered some superstar abilities, whereas Bobrovsky, they haven't. We're still going to take Bobrovsky, go with our gut here. 80 overall sniper with a very good shot category. I think we made the right choice. Let's take a look to see how Lorakainen pans out here. Lorakainen is a 81 overall, so 1 overall higher. Elite medium still, but there are no superstar or zone abilities, so that's a good thing at least. Now, because there's never anybody worth drafting in the first draft past the top 5 picks or so, we are going to sell off our remaining draft capital for this season in exchange for future draft capital. We've got a 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th going out in return for a 2nd, 4th, and 5th. They're going to reject that. We'll take a 2nd and a 4th. That's fine. Just kidding. They won't do that either. All right, just the 2nd. That's fine. We weren't going to get anything besides AHL potential players anyways. So because we are going to be in desperate need of some cap space right off the bat, we've got enough defensemen that we can afford to deal Matthias Ekholm. Going to send him to New Jersey for Silyev. Top 4, high potential, 6'7", 207 pounds at 19 years old. Obviously a defensive defenseman. Going to be making a bet that he will pan out here. Try and get him and a 3rd for Ekholm. Let's see. Trade's done. Now we're going to be sending out some assets that we have no intention on bringing back this season. Dostal, Mahura, Martinez, and Granlund to Columbus for a 4th, 5th, and 6th round pick. That's really all the moves we're going to make until free agency opens up, so we'll sim the rest of the draft here. Obviously just the one selection to look at there in Bobrovsky, 3rd overall. And so we've got 61 million in cap space as free agency opens up, but obviously that's going to get eaten into very quickly because almost every single player on this list needs a contract. So to start things off, we are going to qualify all our RFAs, except for the very obvious ones like Yoki Haru. We're not qualifying him for $3 million. We're going to see what he's asking for first. Now we take a look. Shea Theodore does not want to be here, which does hurt. However, let's see if we can sway him a little bit here. We'll enter the negotiation. The charm approach is too risky on a guy like Shea Theodore. I think we're going to go for the neutral response. Maybe we'll try and pitch him on the organization about sticking around, being a core piece. He's on the fence about the organization, but he's willing to look at a 6-year deal. I'm not opposed to that. He wants 7.5 a season, which honestly isn't that bad. I'm going to try and bring that number down just a little bit still though. 7.5, I don't want to get too greedy because it's already a good cap hit. We're going to ask him to take a $500,000 a year discount. So he would be open to it as long as it includes a clause. I'm okay with that as well, I guess. I'd want it to be a modified no trade though, so we still have the option to move him if need be. We'll make it cover the span of the entire contract because that's fair. We'll do a 21 team no trade list. I think that's more than reasonable, Shea. Let's see if he's willing to accept. He's going to take his time to think about it despite us giving him everything he wants. Bugstad's asking for a ridiculous contract to come back. Whatever, we can just release him. Now this is where things get interesting. This is going to be our big spend. Look at these UFAs that we've got to get done. Obviously, Bobrovsky's negotiation is a simple one. We'll get that one done. So Brock Besser wants an 8-year deal at $8.725 a season. He also wants full no trade protection, which is just not going to happen. So again, we enter the negotiation phase. We're going to try and get him to take $1 million less a season. Coming in just under 8 would be ideal. So now we're at 7.7. He's still got decent interest in it, but again, it's wanting the clause in the contract. I'm still fine with doing a modified no move. This one I will want to defer just in case I want to move him after year 1 though. Didn't quite work on the persuasion meter there, so let's make a promise here. Pretty safe bet that he's going to be in the top 6. Oh Jesus, that went south very quickly. He does not want to entertain negotiations anymore. Handing out this many no moves is definitely not ideal this early on in the franchise, but at least we still have some flexibility to move these guys. So we're going to offer Brock Besser 8 years at 7.8 a season, see what he says. Now another ridiculous ask, just more so in terms of this game and where we're at as a team. Nick Ehlers wants 8 years, 8.5 a season. Again, we're going to try and bring that number down below 8 and give him a deferred so we can move him to any team that we want in the first 2 years of this contract. Decent interest in it still. It might actually work here. Now Aaron Ekblad might actually be pretty easy here. We've got 6 years at $5.5 million a season. I'm definitely okay with those numbers. And we're going to give him a modified no trade clause, 25% team trade protection. And that one gets done right away. That's a great signing. Marchand should be a simple one too. It's only going to be for 1 season, 6.2 with 50% trade protection. So he should be the captain. That should still allow us to move him at the deadline. We're just limiting which teams we can negotiate with, but I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. Granlund, we're going to try and go 4 years, 3.8 a season, no clause whatsoever. Doesn't have a ton of interest in the organization, but this one might go through. Alec Martinez wants over $4.5 million to return, so we're just cutting ties right away. I think getting Provorov done at 3 years, 3.9 is going to be a nice piece of tidy work here. We are going to give him a 10% trade protection. but that's only 4 teams. That's not really going to hurt us. So we find out that Nikolai Ehlers has accepted our offer. He will be coming back this season. Provorov needs a little bit more financial incentive. That's okay. We can revisit that. Granlund as well. I figured this was going to be the case. We're trying to get cap savings everywhere we can. At least we got Besser done and Shea Theodore. So after all those guys have accepted and before we've even approached the RFAs, we're only left now with 30 million. We've already eaten into more than half of what we had to start free agency. Granlund will try one more time, 4x4, no trade protection. Provorov will also try one more time, same trade protection as before, but this time we'll up the salary to 4.15. Should be able to get Hoffer and Dostal done fairly easily. Dostal accepts our offer, 1 year, 1 mil. Provorov also accepts. That's a great bargain contract. Hoffer accepting as well. So Granlund, we probably will have to let walk. I can't see us actually spending 4 million on him. We'll try and get Keandre Miller done as well. He only wants 3 years. I'd like to get a little bit more term there, so we'll offer him 5 years at 5.25 a season. He's really the last big money free agent we have to sign, which is very refreshing. We should be able to round out this roster in free agency, no problem. Unfortunately, it's not enough to entice Miller. Let's just offer him what he's asking for then. We'll go 3 years, 4.8 a season. That should get it done. Berggren, we're going to offer 2 years at 1.3 a season. Holmstrom could actually play on our 4th line this year, so we'll give him 1 year at 950. Lundqvist should be a decent 7th guy or injury replacement, so 1.25 is not a bad deal there. We desperately need centers, so even though Tomasino's only a 79 overall, he's still only 22. Top 6 medium potential. I am going to bet on him developing significantly here. We're going to give him 4 years at 3.175 a season. Some of these other guys are going to be very simple. They want 2-way deals, so we'll just get them done out of the way. There we go. Time to advance to free agency. See who's available. Tomasino actually rejects the contract offer, but takes the qualifying deal, so we've only got him for a season. Keandre Miller does accept our contract offer at least, so that's good. I think our blue line's going to be fine. Where we're very much hurting is down the middle. We'll try and address that in free agency, I guess. Maybe make a couple trades to shore that up. Unfortunately, year 1 of free agency is not offering us a lot of solutions down the middle. We could keep the trend going and sign an aging Jamie Benn, I guess. With only 20 million in cap space, though, he's going to eat a fair bit of that. We've got Brad Marchand, who is, of course, willing to go back to Boston. Boston wants him. We're going to try and shore up our forward depth here. Go Marchand and a 3rd round pick for Geeky, Frederick, Brazo, and a 2nd. And the trade goes through. A lot of decent depth for us there. We do have to get Geeky under contract, but that shouldn't be a problem. All right, so JJ Moser on the 3rd pair at 3.3 is a luxury we probably can't afford also. I know we can find cheaper guys, especially in our first rebuilding year. So we're going to ship him out to Minnesota along with Dostal. Try and bring back Marco Rossi here. Trade's close to fair value, so you know what we got to do? We got to throw in that valuable 7th rounder. And that should be all it takes to get this deal done. It certainly is. So we grab Marco Rossi at 22 years old. He's an 82 overall, top 6 high potential. Great puck skills. He is a playmaker. High offensive awareness with a decent enough shot as well. It'd be nice to make one big move for a marquee center here. I'm going to try and look through the list, see who's available, and see what we can pull off. So we're going to zero in on Tage Thompson here. Obviously, we just drafted Bobrovsky with a 3rd overall pick. 80 overall elite scorer at 18 years old. It's tough to give up, but when you can acquire a guy like Tage Thompson, you go all out. Bobrovsky and a 2nd. Let's see if it goes through. Rightfully so, it does not, but this is why you acquire a lot of draft capital. We're going to try 2 seconds now. The trade goes through, and we have our 1st line center. Not only that, but we managed to hang on to our 1st round pick still, and we're really starting to see this team take shape a little bit here. You've got Thompson, Rossi, Tomasino, and Geeky, the building blocks down the middle. A really solid top 4 on defense there, and Theodore, Ekblad, Miller, and Provorov. And Gustafsson, Hoffer to build around in net. Could be worse. And we could immediately cause a war here and become the bad guys of the NHL and sign Gabe Vilardi to an offer sheet. 4 years, 5.2 a season. Would cost us our 1st and 3rd. Low elite potential. He's already an 85 overall. He does play center, which also checks another box off the list. I'm very tempted to offer this. Yeah, you know what? I think we're going to, because I just took a look at Morgan Geeky's contract demands, and dude wants 5.4 a season for 4 years. At a top 6 low, that's just not a contract I'm willing to hand out. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to trade Geeky right after this, but we're going to go ahead with the offer sheet. Let's make a splash right away. Who cares? So because we're likely to lose some draft capital in this offer sheet, we're going to try and get a little bit back, plus a prospect. Sending Geeky a 3rd and a 5th out to Vancouver for a 2nd and Aatu Ratu. Trade goes through, so there we go. Get a higher value draft pick, and we build a little bit for the future. So now I'm going to go ahead and round out the roster with some depth signings. I'll jump forward to the start of the preseason and show you guys what we did. All right, guys, we have arrived at the start of the preseason here. Unfortunately, as you can tell, Gabe Vilardi did not accept our offer sheet, which means I guess it's a good thing we do retain our 1st round pick, but our center depth took a little bit of a hit. Had to scramble and sign a couple free agents like Steven Lorentz and Kostelic there. Honestly, I'm not too upset with the way the coach is deploying the lineup here. We've got Ehlers, Thompson, and Besser on the first line. Skinner, Rossi, and Milano on the second. Mercer, Lorentz, and Frederick on the third. That line's going to be a pain in the ass to play against. And finally, Van Riemsdyk, Kastelik, and Brazo. The big rig, Pat Maroon, is our 13th forward. The only thing that concerns me a little bit with the coach's lineup here is Keandre Miller is on the third pair over Provorov, and he's not getting any power play time. That could really hurt his development. We might have to trade him mid-season just because of that. But as you can see, we got Theodore Ekblad. What a top pairing. Provorov, Petrie, Keandre Miller, and Ryan Suter. Nils Lundqvist is the team's 7th defenseman. Finally, in net, we've got the Gustafsson and Hopper tandem with Dan Vladar filling in as third string. I'm expecting big things from our AHL team this year. This should be a great development season for some of these guys. Arguably, a couple of them should be in the NHL, and maybe with some trade deadline deals, we can get them up. The blue line is filled with just a bunch of depth signings that we made to round out the roster. Obviously, we're hoping for a big year at Vasiliev. And we've got Sogard and Blomqvist as the AHL goalies. This team should absolutely be a force. We've given Tage Thompson the captain for year 1. Brock Besser and Shea Theodore are going to be his alternates. Now, I've gone ahead and hired a coach with a decent enough team fit, and I've done the same in the AHL and given him the same strategies as our NHL coach. That way, we're going to be able to plug and play players, make sure that they actually fit the coach's system when we need to call them up, and it gives us a better insight as to which prospects maybe won't fit our coach's scheme. I've also taken the time to set all my scouts up in the proper regions, so that's all taken care of. Scouting will be on automatically. And real quick, give you guys a look at all the jerseys here. There's obviously the home, the beautiful alternate with the chrome gloves and helmet, and finally our away jersey, which is probably my favorite of the three, to be honest. Now let's just simulate game 1 real quick to give ourselves an omen for how this season is going to look. At the end of the first, we're down 1-0 by a Kyle Connor goal. Second period, however, we storm back. Besser and Rossi scoring the first goals in franchise history. It's tied at 2. And a big third period for the boys. Tage Thompson scores 2. Brock Besser gets his second of the game as well. We take down the Jets 5-3 in our first game in front of the home fans. So we're going to go ahead and simulate to the trade deadline here. Of course, we will have injuries, and the coach is going to have to make some tough decisions here. Again, the only things that I can really do to affect the roster are, like that, waiver claims, trades, or a roster move, call-up send-downs. But we'll get to the first season's trade deadline and see how this team is stacking up. We're probably going to have to sell off a lot of pieces, to be honest with you. Jordan Greenway on waivers is interesting. $1 million for a season. He's a decent little option to have. Let's claim him. All right, guys, we have arrived just before the trade deadline here, trade deadline eve. And as you can see, this team is very much not in contention. Thank God, Gabe Vilardi rejected our offer sheet. We are hanging on to that first round pick. It's going to be extremely valuable. Just by the looks of Philip Gustafsson's record there, you can tell the goaltending might be an issue. An .892 save percentage to go along with a 3.6 goals against average. And as you guys are able to see, once I move myself here, we are actually dead last in goals against in the league, 33rd, 29th out of 33 in goals for. So just overall a pathetic organization. Tage Thompson leads our forward group with 47 points. That's not great. Shea Theodore, 36 points. Thompson with 22 goals. Now let's take a look at some of the progress that our players have made here. I'm going to guess that our AHL team's taken a big step. Tomasino's actually had a good stint in the NHL this year. 62 games, he's got 26 points. At 80 overall, that's not terrible, especially on this team. Yeah, him and Bobby Brink have actually seen substantial growth. Dawson Mercer, not as much, although he's having a good season stats-wise as well. The young guys are performing. I can't complain, to be honest with you. Now, if we take a look at the AHL, I think we might have found a diamond in the rough here. Sasha Pastujov, I don't know how you pronounce that. Dude's playing on the 4th line in the AHL. He's 21 years old, already up to a 77. He's a sniper with 25 goals on that 4th line. And we're obviously seeing a ton of natural growth for him. His shot is incredible, by the way. 89 for both power and 81 for accuracy. That's only going to grow. Skating could definitely use some improvement, but we'll get there. This kid might deserve a shot already. Olesen and Silyev, obviously two big pieces that we're looking for to grow, are doing so this year. Henry Muse on that low elite potential, starting to perform a little bit in the OHL this year. We love to see that. As far as the goalies go, not as much growth as I would have hoped for, unfortunately. I still think we'll be more than fine in net going forward if we keep this group. Now, one glaring area of concern is Keandre Miller's only playing 15 minutes of ice time per game, and as you can see, that has made his stats take quite the hit. Now, we committed long-term to him, so we do need him to pan out, so we might have to trade Provorov just to force his way into the top 4. So we're going to send Provorov here to Detroit for Nygaard and a 3rd round pick, which they do accept. Now we've got an opportunity to grab Kochetkov here from Carolina for Jeff Skinner. I'm not going to pass that one up. An elite potential goalie, we will gladly take that. He's got another year left at $2 million as well, which means I think we are ready to move on from Philip Gustafson. Vegas came in and set the template. We are not here to spare feelings. We're here to build a winner. Sonny Milano's also on an expiring deal here. We're going to pick up Elmer Soderblom, give ourselves some more size in the bottom 6. And as we see here, Nikolai Ehlers has really not worked out. That's why we gave him the deferred no move clause. That's probably a trade for the draft. To be honest with you, we are going to move him more than likely because it just has not worked out. That's $8 million against the cap that we cannot afford to leave as dead space. But again, we'll see once we come to the NHL draft. There's something pressing that comes up. Maybe we can move up for a better pick if we somehow don't win the lottery, especially. Now we are going to jump into the trade deadline as sellers here. Let's see if anything interesting comes about. Evidently, we're making Shea Theodore available. Let me just tell you right now, not going to happen, guys. We're also making Aaron Ekblad available. I guess we're just having a fire sale. Anaheim's offering us Linus Ullmark and Warren for Ekblad. We're going to turn that one down. Montreal, Matheson, and a 4th. No, thank you. And we'll take a look at some of the moves from around the league at the deadline. Chicago gets Patrick Laine from Montreal for a 2nd and Wyatt Kaiser. Leafs dealt prospect Ben Danford to the Montreal Canadiens for a 3rd and a 4th. I guess they really soured on him very quickly. Leafs trade Easton Cowan and whoever Sam McHugh is for Jake Wallman and a 5th. I would quit being a Leafs fan forever. Kevin Hayes heading back to Winnipeg is crazy. Yeah, there really wasn't a lot of action at the deadline this year, which is strange. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump to the end of the season, see what's what, and see who performs. At least K-Andre Miller should be back in the top 4. We'll take a look at the stats in just a second here. So unfortunately, it took about 70 games for this team to decide, hey, let's win some games finally. They rifled off a very impressive post-trade deadline to not necessarily tank our draft pick, but they certainly tried to. Somehow Buffalo was even worse than us. Montreal too, by the way. We had 71 points as an expansion team, going 33, 44, and 5. 2.56 goals for per game is good for second last in the league. Not really that surprising. And when you allow the 4th most goals in the league, combined with the low goal scoring, it's really not a recipe for success. 3.3 goals against per game. Just look at Tampa Bay, 58, 23, and 1. What a season. 3.74 goals per game is crazy. And they didn't even have that great a season on the power play. 18% is decent, but nothing crazy. Now, before we take a look at the whole league, let's see how our players performed first. Obviously, Tage Thompson led the team with 62 points. Outside of that, it was very disappointing, especially for some of the guys that we gave big contracts to, like Brock Besser, only putting up 13 goals and 45 points. That guy's making almost $8 million. But perhaps even more egregious than that, Nikolai Ehlers puts up only 28 points this season. Now, he missed 30 games due to injury, but still, that is just not going to cut it. Thank God for that deferred no move clause. We can still move him to any team we want. K-Andre Miller's ice time only went up by a minute after the trade deadline, so he still didn't play a ton. Only 18 points this year. Another guy who got big money, so we will have to evaluate that in the offseason. As far as the goalies go, obviously we traded Gustafson, who wasn't performing very well. Kochetkov came in and was actually very solid. In 14 games with us, he went 7-6 with a .922 save percentage and a 2.5 goals against. Hoffer was very solid as his backup, putting up a .919 save percentage in 25 games. Nikita Kucherov on that absolute wagon of a Tampa team leads the league in scoring with 113 points. Nylander, so close to 100 again, but he missed 10 games. It doesn't quite get there. So David Pastrnak led the league in goal scoring with 65, but that's because Austin Matthews missed 30 games due to injury and still had 46 goals in those 52 games. I'd assume with great confidence that Quinn Hughes is going to be taking home the Norris Trophy this year. 93 points in 80 games. And hard to see Ottinger not getting the Vezina. Real quick though, look at what Samuel Ersson did for Philly this year. 35 wins in 58 games is bonkers to begin with. But the guy had a 2.6 goals against and a .918 save percentage. He single-handedly ruined the tank. Michkov was the high-scoring rookie, probably gets the Calder. 32 goals, yeah, he's definitely getting the Calder. Now, at least our AHL team were a bunch of killers, and hopefully we had some great development there. Second to the Springfield Thunderbirds, 110 points in the year, 50 wins. Third in the AHL in goals for per game at 3.18, and a middling team in goals against at 2.61. All the one-year mercenaries that we signed to be in the NHL actually exceeded expectations in the AHL. Hopefully they were at least good mentors for the kids. Steven Lorentz leads the way with 73 points. Our diamond in the rough didn't score again after we highlighted him. I think we might have jinxed him. And we needed Silyev to have a big year, and he certainly delivered. He actually got into 6 NHL games. Didn't really perform much there, but he's way ahead of schedule. 69 games in the AHL, 15 points, a plus 30 rating, all while averaging 22 minutes of ice time a game. And somehow he took 31 faceoffs in the NHL. What the hell is that all about? Blomqvist, a disappointing season as the backup, but Sogard was very solid as our team starter, posting a 2.3 goals against and a 913 save percentage. I can't imagine we'll move off of Hoffer this offseason, but if we do, at least we know we've got Sogard as a viable backup there. And if we take a look at the end results of the NHL playoffs in year 1, the Detroit Red Wings somehow take home the Stanley Cup. They sweep the Canucks in the Stanley Cup final after taking out Boston, Tampa, and New Jersey along the way. Vancouver goes through Edmonton, LA, and Dallas to get there. And despite Quinn Hughes and JT Miller having absolutely fantastic playoffs, they come up just short to Dylan Larkin's Red Wings. Showtime gets another Stanley Cup added to his already very impressive cabinet. Cam Talbot might be taking home the Conn Smythe here. In 21 games, he won 16 of them obviously to get the cup. Only lost 5 times, once in OT, 4 shutouts along the way. But look at the 1.76 goals against and 946 save percentage. That's just stupid. And it wasn't a total write-off because the boys pulled out the Calder Cup win, losing only 5 times total, 3 of them coming in the actual finals to Iowa. We built an absolute wagon at the AHL level at least. Very balanced attack. Pelche led the way with 15 points. Sogard's numbers, very impressive. He went 14-3-2 with a 922 and a 2.26 goals against. Now let's take a look at some of the hardware winners from this season. Obviously, Kucherov's getting the Art Ross. He takes home the Hart Trophy as well. Like we predicted, Quinn Hughes does take home the Norris. Kucherov also gets the Lady Being. That's kind of funny. It's also #1 bullcrap. Michkov gets the Calder. Patrick Kane somehow gets the Conn Smythe. He didn't even lead the team in scoring. Again, kind of crazy. Darcy Kemper comes out of nowhere to take home the Vezina. Logan Thompson on Columbus wins the Jennings. All right, what the hell's going on? Samuelson back on Buffalo where he belongs, takes home the Bill Masterson. Must have had a tough year. And we don't have the authentic coaches, but Mr. Barlow taking home the Jack Adams in Philadelphia. Kopitar the Selke. At least it's not Crosby. If you know, you know. Kucherov takes home the Ted Lindsay. Pasternak gets the Rocket. Would have been Matthews. And we'll see really quickly if any of our players took home any AHL hardware. Oh my God, Daniil Yurov took home just about every award there is to win. Joshua Waugh at least took home the MVP of the playoffs. I think we got to take a look at what Danila Yurov did. Yeah, Yurov had an absolutely insane season in the AHL. 45 goals and 53 assists. The crazy thing is his ratings really aren't all that impressive. I don't know where that season came from. All right, we're going to simulate to the draft real quick, finish the entry draft, and that'll be it for episode 1. So let's see who's available with our pick and more importantly, what pick we get. So this is nuts. Another team wins the draft lottery this year, which is fine, but Philadelphia jumps from 9-1 with Colorado's pick, which means, of course, we move down again, and we're going to land at 5th overall. This is absolutely ridiculous. Let's at least take a look at the draft class. I really haven't looked all season, so let's see if there is going to be anything good available for us at 5 here. Keep in mind, we did tweak the draft class quality and prospect quality to low. James Hagen's your projected #1 overall pick. We're looking at either Anton Frondel, Porter Martone, or Mike Misa. Honestly, any one of those is not a bad consolation prize for moving down in the draft lottery, so we're going to hold pat at 5th overall. Our scouts have found 1 gem in the draft. We're going to go ahead and pin Braden Coots from the Seattle Thunderbirds. We're going to have to grab him in the 2nd round. I don't know if we have any 2nd rounders right now. Looks like we do. We've got the 3rd pick and the 32nd in the 2nd round, so we'll be just fine. We are probably going to move some of these later picks to move up, maybe draft a goalie as well. And we'll take a look at the retired players from year 1. Didn't even realize Brian Little was still around, but he's retired. No other real surprises there. No real big names on the list. As far as goalies go, Keith Kincaid and Jonas Enroth are the 2 biggest names retiring this year. So we are going to jump into the NHL entry draft. We're going to take a look real quick to see what teams might offer for Nick Ehlers. I think we're going to send him to Minnesota. Him and Kaprizov are going to be a deadly pair, more than likely, and will probably torment us for years to come. But if we can get Stramel, 2 seconds, and Lambos, I think it's a no-brainer. Doesn't go through, so we're going to add a 3rd and a 4th here, and it's done. We clear a ton of cap and add 2 promising pieces. Plus, it gives us another $8 million to spend in free agency this year. Clearly, he wasn't a good fit for our team. So Hagens went first, 80 overall, elite high potential. Had a great season in the U.S. League. We can see he's got 4 superstar abilities. However, Will Johnston at second overall, 83 overall already. Elite medium potential, also at 18 years old, of course. 2 superstar abilities. Those offensive ratings are just crazy already. 87 offensive awareness. Then we had Harrison and Frondell go, which means we're left to decide between Porter Martone and Mike Misa. Do we take the center or do we go Scout's best player available in Martone? I'm going to take Mike Misa. 77 over. We actually got an achievement there. I don't know for what, but okay. 77 overall, elite medium potential. Had a big season in the OHL. 123 points. The ratings are decent enough. I'm sure Porter Martone's going to be a stud as well. Let's see what he's looking like. Yeah, a really solid power forward. We knew that was going to be the case. Very good shot already, and 85 offensive awareness already isn't bad either. All right, we're going to sim to our next pick here, which I believe is 36th overall, and we're going to take the player that our scouts believe to be a gem. Real outside chance of him being an elite potential, but we'll see. More than likely top 6. He is. Braden Coots, top 6 medium potential, 60 overall at 18 years old. There's room for growth. He is a two-way forward. That shooting accuracy is just atrocious. This is one that we're probably gonna have to leave to develop for like 5 years before we see anything out of. And we'll take a look at the draft class here. Our scouts have Kayshawn Atchison at 21st, and he's still on the board at 37, so we're gonna have to trade for the 37th overall pick here. We'll try 49 and 102 for pick 37. It's accepted. All right, let's see if our scouts are earning their money. We have got a top 4 medium defenseman at 70 overall already. Again, the shot's just atrocious, but that's to be expected for some of these kids. 80 for both awarenesses. That skating's got to get improved big time. Another project pick here, but we'll take it. Now, 3rd round pick, we're going to go for a little bit of a reach. Again, he's projected to go 80th. We've got the 65th overall. We could trade down and get some picks, actually. So we're just going to try and acquire a bunch of draft picks here, sending the 65th and 69th to Carolina in exchange for 76, a 4th, 5th, and 2 6th round picks in the future. Doesn't go through. We'll take out one of these 6. Doesn't go through, so we took out both 6th rounders, and now we're going to make that deal. All right, let's go get our goalie. Gabriel Jag, 6'4", 220 pounds at 18 years old. That's a big goalie. There is a starter high potential just beneath him, but I think we're going to take the CHL goalie and see what's what. He is starter high at least as well, so worst case, we didn't lose out there. Ottawa drafted the other goaltender. He is indeed starter high potential as well. 1 overall lower though, so we won. All right, we'll sim to pick 85, see what's available. Another goalie they're pretty sure is a medium starter potential available here at 85th overall. Could have a couple superstar abilities as well too. I think it's probably going to be worth the risk. Yeah, there's really not much else worth taking a risk on right now, so I think we play it safe with the goalie. So we do indeed get ourselves another starter potential. No superstar abilities, unfortunately, but that's okay. More than likely a trade chip above anything else. And with our remaining draft picks, there's really not much worth taking a risk on. So I think we're going to trade them for future picks as well. Our 5th and 7th this year for the Leafs, 5th and San Jose 6th next year. Trade's done. All right, guys, the draft has been completed, and that is going to do it for episode 1 of this series. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to hit the like button on the way out, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that notification bell to be reminded when new videos go live. I upload shorts every single day of the week, so if hockey content is something you're interested in, you don't want to miss it. But again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in episode 2.